a little lost today because we don't have our left-hand man, Tammy.
What?
That's true.
This is the first episode we've had no Tammy.
Yeah, so he's going through the process of becoming a U.S. citizen.
Wow.
Yeah, and he just texted me that he can't believe it's real. And that gave me a moment to pause and think, wow, how much I take for granted being in this country. And, you know, in our country right now, some people believe we're real divided and nitpicky and silly, quite frankly. I don't know if that's more true today than it's been true in the past, but either way, I think it's good for us to know people are going through this process because it reminds us of what a wonderful place we have here, and maybe to take a step back in an effort to maintain it would probably be a good thing. But I very much appreciate his perspective because he was not born here like most of us, and he does not for a second take for granted what the opportunity that is, the big experiment and dream that is the United States of America.
Yeah, I mean, took to American capitalism pretty well. I mean, the man is a numbers machine, first of all, and like weirder thing is like Tammy seems to actively enjoy it.
He does. He loves math.
Yeah,
which that's a special kind of person, and he loves the numbers. He loves the way they come together. But he combines it with an empathy for his fellow human beings. So it's not just here's the numbers, take it or leave it. It's like, how can we make this math, this American capitalism and the associated math that goes with it, how can we use that to the benefit of the people that we work with and try to provide value to? So no, he's 100% embraced capitalism. There is zero doubt about that. But at the same time, he's a tremendous, empathetic human being, and he's going to make a doggone good American.
Yeah, I mean, I would be scared to see what my results would be if I had to take the citizenship test.
Yes.
Because I know there's 100 questions that you basically have to learn, but at the end, you only have to do, they give you a random version of like 10 or 20 of those.
Yeah.
And look, I'm from here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But I went to public school, and our social studies class wasn't the best. So I'm constantly like, I have this weird fear that one day everything might fall apart, and then they're like, well, are you a citizen? Yeah, we'll prove it. Okay, well, who was the biggest signature on the Declaration of Independence? And you're like, oh man, I feel like it's a Jeff. John, nope. And then, nope, I'm kicked out.
Yeah, no, it's not Herbie Hancock, by the way.
Herbie Hancock, the secret founding father. So yeah, it is a little bit missing. Tammy, I like Tammy though. It's gonna sound weird. He's got a huggable energy about him too.
He definitely does. He's a big teddy bear, and again, he's an inspiration for all of us because he's a citizen of the world. Grew up in many different places throughout the world and settled here, so that says a lot. And has never been deterred. When I met him many years ago, he hadn't even been through his financial training. He wasn't sure what he was going to do. He was willing to try or do anything. I had met him through a mutual friend, and we put him to work as an intern. He really had no idea what to do, but he tried his best, and then he said to me, I'm going to go get a degree in finance, and I'm going to go learn this thing you do, Mr. Brown, as he called me back then. And then I'm going to, we're going to talk again. And I thought, oh, that's great, kid. That's cool. I thought I'd never see him again. And then about 5 or 6 years later, he came through town, and he took me to dinner at, what's that Turkish restaurant in Winter Park? Bosphorus?
Yeah. I always say it wrong.
Did I say it right? I don't know if I said it right. But the food was fantastic, and
being
to find
a country music fan from a pop guy, I was want to call it Bocephus, and it's definitely not that.
I think that's something different.
Yeah.
They serve different food there. But he did find his way. He did get his finance degree, and he is a CFA now, which for those of you who don't know is a very, very hard test to pass. And it makes him somewhat of a technical mathematical whiz, if you will. And today he runs our trading and bond ladder development, equity development program. So it's truly an amazing, I don't want to go on all day about this, but it's truly an amazing American story, and I'm thankful to be part of it.
Very, very cool. But we're here to talk finances. Tammy and his numbers be damned, I guess.
Well, we can do a few numbers if you want.
I don't. You're gonna do the numbers?
I'm gonna. Do I get the music or I don't get the music?
I don't feel like you get the music.
I don't feel like I deserve the music.
I mean, I could do it if you really
Maybe
want.
it'll make me smarter if you play the music.
It is it's weird. Like, I know Tammy is not here, and I do feel like there's a hole missing now. And but maybe the numbers music will help. I don't know. Did you prepared for it?
I mean, no. But I can give you a few numbers. You know, we can wing it here.
Okay. I mean, there.
Suddenly numbers are coming to me. It's strange.
The music makes you feel the numbers.
Considerably smarter all of a sudden.
What do we got for numbers from Scott?
Well, it's going to be so lame compared to Tammy's numbers. But, you know, year to date, the Dow Industrial, which is how many people measure the returns of the stock market, is up 1.52%. It's languished the last week or two. So we've had we were euphoric for January and less than euphoric here in February. If you go back 12 months, the market's off 3%. If you go back 3 months, the market's off about 0.25%. In the last month or so, we've been down about 2%. So it's been a okay but not great start to the year. I read a headline, Ryan, I think I was telling you about it earlier, that I read a headline today on one of the networks that said, worst week since December. And I thought to myself, what's next? Worst day since yesterday? I mean, how short of an attention span do you have to have for a headline to actually reference worst week since, like, literally 5 weeks ago?
I think that's a Tom Waits song.
Is it? Yes. I believe that's right. Or John Waite. I don't know.
Herbie Hancock.
Yeah. Herbie Hancock. So, yeah, one of the things I grow increasingly frustrated with, maybe this is an old man get out of my yard kind of thing.
Yelling at clouds.
Yeah, please. Stop it. I'm getting increasingly frustrated with this short-term news cycle, and it's not going away, so I probably need to get over it. But it's, worst week since December, worst month since 3 months ago, worst year since, the year before last year. It's like the market does this. It goes up and down, and when you continue to remind people how bad something is, and we know that bad news sells, but the reality is it's not healthy for you to digest that on a daily basis because you can't. It's like watching your favorite news channel, right? If you watch the same channel every single day, eventually, without you even knowing it, you become addicted to the message. Because if, your network came on and said the exact opposite of what you're used to it saying, you would quickly flip the channel and your head might explode. So just be aware that you're kind of like the lobster in the warm water before he realizes he's being boiled with this kind of bad news cycle. I'd say bad news, good news cycle, but there is no good news to the cycle. It's literally just bad and worse.
Well, I mean, I came across a new term I hadn't heard of, and maybe you have, but they're using the term kangaroo market for what's happening right now.
Is that Australian market?
It is
or is
not.
That something different?
It's not the Outback S&P 500. No, but so like when you have a bull market, the graph goes up and to the right, right?
Yes,
you got
sir.
a bear market, it goes down and to the right. The kangaroo market, I guess the way this market looks is very jumpy. It's up and down and up and down and up and down it very quickly. Is this the first time we've ever had such a marsupial-based market?
No. So, I call that a market. I call that the stock market.
Oh.
Yeah, because that's how it works. Again, we get into this conversation over and over again about risk and returns and variance in returns and volatility. And, I joke, and I have joked for many years, it's my version of a dad joke, but it's people love volatility as long as it's up. And the reality is the markets are always going to do this. Minus the down years, you won't get the up years. People want these straight lines that go hyperbolic and go straight to 20 or 30% in gains in any given year. The market's never going to do that. In fact, if you look at historical one-year returns and then you looked at the graph, to your point, to the kangaroo thing, and you looked at a year, say, where we were up 10 or 15 or 20%, most of those years, if not all of them, and I don't quote me on that, I don't know that it's all of them, but most of those years you will be able to go back and find a period during that year where the market was down considerably. So if you said to yourself in March, say of 2020, and you say the market's down 20%, And that to you is an indicator of what the year's going to do, only to find out after you got out that the market actually ended up 18 or 19%. Again, you could repeat that over and over again if you look at all the positive years. So the point being, what happened today or what happened yesterday is almost immaterial to what will happen by the end of the year.
All right. And if you would like more sage wisdom like that, you can go to edgewaterfamilywealth.com, and we have all the past episodes up there as well. You can also get a hold of Scott Brown by going to edgewaterfamilywealth.com, and we'll be right back with more It's Only Money. Welcome back to It's Only Money with financial advisor Scott Brown from Edgewater Family Wealth. EdgewaterFamilyWealth.com is the website, and we're just hanging out here with you on air, having fun, talking numbers, talking money. Scott, I get a lot of questions from people because I do this show, and people feel like they can approach me with their money problems now, which is one of my favorite things.
Yep.
And
if they would just approach you with money, not just money problems.
Yeah, because I got my own money problems, but no, but they'll ask me about stuff about your business, like what do you do exactly? And I think it's funny, but talking to you, I feel like I would know the answer to this, but the question I get a lot is like, so I just give him my money, and then he just does it. It's like a one size fits all situation, and then I give him money. He makes me the money, and then that's the end, right?
That's it.
And that's it.
That's it. You give me the money, I make the money, and then we all have lots of money.
But knowing what I know about you, and one of the bigger things that I learned since we started this show is like it's almost like you're a money therapist.
Yo, if you only knew. Yeah. So, it's interesting to me. In my book that you love the title so much of, what's the title of the book?
The title is Badly, I Never Made Anyone Rich.
Yeah, I know you love that. So, to that end, in that book, I wrote a chapter on training your financial advisor. And people think, well, why would I train a trained professional, right? But
stay.
Exactly.
Give me money.
Well, and that's essentially it.
Go fetch me money.
Go fetch, yes. Roll over. So we do train people that we work, whether it's our doctor, whether it's a lawyer, whether it's an accountant, whether it's a financial advisor, whether it's, I don't even know what. But when we engage and we communicate with other people, especially people we're paying for a service or whatever, you train a waiter or a waitress. If you come in and you're friendly and you're just, hey, how are you? And that puts them at ease. They feel more comfortable with you. They're not on edge. They're not going to spit in your food, and that's all good. But if you come in with an attitude and you're rude and you're demanding and you're sending your food back 4 times, you know who you are out there.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably going to get your food spit in, number one. Number two, they're on edge. So you've created an atmosphere and you've created the tone for that interaction. To my point, which I'm very slowly getting to, is when you interact with your financial advisor, how you behave in the early stages of, say, a bad market or a good market, they get a read on you. And I like to tell this story about a kind of a big deal client I had for a little while, who first invested with me, and this is many years ago, and then this person would travel to Europe in the summer. So every summer, beginning of the summer, he and his family would pack up and go to Europe and do their thing. But before he would leave, he would always call me. Scott, going to Europe. Put all my money in cash. Now, first of all, I don't know what the two have to do with each other. Like, he thinks him going to Europe, the entire American economy and stock market's going to crater. I don't know what he thought was going to happen. All he knew was he was going across the ocean, because apparently he's not aware of the phone thing, and that the market would do something that he would not be able to do anything about, despite the fact that he had hired me and was paying me to manage his money, right? So the first time I pushed back, I'm like, what? This doesn't make any sense. As I just described to you, it doesn't make any sense, right? You leaving has no correlation to the market going up or down. It's just the market, and we have a system and a process, and we're going to follow. No, I'm leaving. Put the money in cash. And I'm exaggerating a little bit, but that was more or less the conversation, right? Make it more conservative, whatever. And he'd leave, and I would fight back and say, I think this is a bad idea, yada, yada, yada. And he did this to me for a couple, 3 years, and I would fight back every time. I'd say, it's a bad idea. Look what it cost you last summer. Look what it did to your returns. And just he refused to buy into the idea that he should stick to his guns and stick to the plan, despite the fact that he was going to be having lunch in Paris at some point. So finally, about year 4 or 5, I just capitulated. He'd call up and I'd say, okay, sure. Now, that went on for 4 or 5 or 6 years. He was never happy with his returns at the end of the year. And guess, essentially what he did was he got to the end of 8 or 9 years and realized his return sucked. And guess what he did?
Fired you.
He fired me.
Wow.
He didn't say, I made a mistake. He didn't say, I shouldn't have told you to do that. He didn't say, you told me so. He didn't say any of that. As type A personalities tend to be, he needed a scapegoat, and I was the scapegoat. Now, in all fairness, I'm kind of glad he did. It just wasn't a good fit. My point is, it's like a dog. If every time the dog does something wrong, you pull out the newspaper and whack him in the face, eventually they're going to wince, right? When you reach for the newspaper, they're going to wince. And I winced. I gave in. I didn't want to get hit with the newspaper anymore, so I said, sure, whatever, let's put it all in cash. Let's do whatever this thing is you think we need to do so that you can go to Europe. So my point is, if you experience a bad market with let's say you had started with your advisor last year and it was a crappy year by all standards, the bond market, the stock market, I don't care what market you visited, it wasn't all that great, right? And now I
went to the Boston market. It wasn't even good.
The rotisserie chicken was way off last year. So if you are smacking your advisor with a newspaper, the next time a bad market comes along or the thing dips, he or she may not talk you out of the dumb decision you're about to make to get out, right? They may say, well, I know how this ends. I'm not going to fight with them. I'm going to give in to – first of all, it's absurd to think you're going to pay somebody so that you can manage your own money, right? Here, I'd like to pay you a few $1,000s a year, and in return for that, I'd like you to do everything I tell you to do and nothing else. Well, that seems like, hey, you hire the kid next door to mow your lawn, hand him a glass of lemonade, and mow your own lawn, right? What is the point of that? So, again, my overarching point here is that if you react poorly and you do it over and over and over again, eventually the advisor is going to capitulate because they don't want to have an argument with you any more than you want to have one with them, and they're just going to do what you tell them no matter how bad they think that idea is.
And fully blame you no matter what.
Oh, and they'll still blame you. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's how it works. That's like the guys like, your cholesterol is 400, and then the guy keeps eating Oreos for dinner and is mad at the doctor because now his cholesterol is 500. I'm thinking that...
There's a bit of truth to that, though, because I recently went to the doctor and got a physical, and their advice was just like, you need to lose weight. And I was like, a mirror told me that. But they're like, we're going to have to put you on cholesterol medicine if you don't lose the weight. So it's your choice. Yeah. So it's not, I guess
you should have fired the doctor.
I should have immediately fired the doctor, and I did not. So you have to be trained on how it works with the people. Is it reciprocal? Are you like doing some financial kung fu and training the client as well?
I try to set expectations. I think one of the biggest problems we have in our industry is expectations. So people see the commercials on TV. They see I won't name the firm that does it, but the ads with the guy dancing on the yacht or the baby in the helicopter or whatever nonsensical thing you see that leads you to believe that your expectation should be that you're going to make a lot of money by hiring a financial advisor because they know the secret. They know this advisor at this firm with these fancy pillars and the cufflinks and all the fancy suits and such, they are the ones that know how to make you rich. And that is the wrong expectation. The expectation should be that I'm looking for a partner, someone to emotionally help me when things get rough. I tend to make a bad decision. I don't want to make a bad decision. I need a disinterested person. Maybe that's a wrong way to put it, but somebody it's not their money. They can give me objective advice to say, you know what? I know we're in the middle of COVID. I know it's March 2020, and I know the market's down. But I think this is temporary like it usually is historically. And if you get out here while we're down 20%, you're going to be 20% in the hole. And I think maybe in a year or two you will regret that. Just having somebody to have that conversation and talk sense into you, which would have proven to be good advice at that moment, That's what you're paying for. You're paying for administrative help. You're paying for where is that form. You're paying for how can I save some money on my taxes? Which qualified plan do I use? Do I do a Roth? Do I do a traditional IRA? Should I maximize my 401k? What's the match? Okay, now I need to take income. How do I do that? Where do I take it from that is least taxable? How does that integrate with Social Security? And I could go on and on and on and on of the hundreds of things that we do that do not involve bad expectations. They do not involve, here, give me your $1,000 and I'll buy this stock, and then in a year it'll be $10,000. That is not the expectation you should have. It should be that of a team. You're part of my team, just like an accountant or a lawyer or a doctor or whatever. We're in a team. We're in this together. What can we do to make these outcomes the best? Not overnight, but over an extended period of time.
I want to do it, but like I want to be on the team. But like you're the quarterback. I'd say you're the quarterback in this. I'm the towel boy. You know, like I'm still here. My small amount of money's over here, but it's doing good thanks to you. I guess I still get the Super Bowl ring in the end. But
you still get the ring in the end.
Yeah, you still get the ring at the end. It's funny to me, but like I would love to like really like. Because you've told me like a lot of your meetings with clients are just like, check in with them once a year, and then you're doing. It's not autopilot by any means, but you're doing the heavy lifting and the work, and they're essentially reaping the benefits of having the smart people behind their money.
Well, I mean, they're reaping the benefits of a good relationship. Again, I'm not clairvoyant. I did not get a PhD from MIT. I just understand what works over the long haul, and yes, we can talk about when we come back that. A lot of the work gets done when the client isn't around.
All right, stick around for more. It's Only Money. We'll be right back. Welcome back to another segment of It's Only Money. And you're hanging out here with Scott Brown from Edgewater Family Wealth. EdgewaterFamilyWealth.com is the website. I'm Ryan. Scott, I didn't tell you about this, but I got caught up in more meme stocks.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I know. All of a sudden, Bed Bath & Beyond stock that I had from before went crazy, and I was like, oh, got to jump on this train. Something's happened. I don't understand what's happening necessarily. All of a sudden, I'm like, money goes up, money goes up. Turns out, money goes down fast.
Is that right?
Yep. It's, and then I thought of you, and I was like,
So you did, like you said to yourself, Ryan, I'm going to wait for this stock to go way up. Because that'll be an indication that it's going to keep going up.
Exactly.
Because why would I buy it now when it's cheap? That seems stupid.
Exactly.
Why would I buy a low stock when I could buy a high stock?
Yeah, I don't want to get it cheap. I don't want to get a discount
why
stock.
Why do I want a $6 stock when I can buy a $40
these dollar store
ridiculous. Stocks? Yes, I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, did you hear about any of that?
I mean, I've loosely heard some of the they kind of shot themselves in the foot with some bad press and some bad behavior.
They immediately declared that they're going to have to shut down stores and declare bankruptcy, and everybody's stock went to hell. But I keep a close eye on this stuff because also like there's people that are saying like Google might be done.
Yeah.
You're openly scoffing at the people on the internet now.
Yeah, I don't think Google's. I know this whole chat GPT thing has got everybody in a bit of a flutter, but
have you messed with it at all?
I have, and I have to say it's both fascinating and terrifying at the same time.
Oh yeah.
There's been it's a huge topic of discussion amongst traders and people in the tech sector, and I belong to a group of local CFOs, and it's all they're talking about right now. What the implications are, I have no idea. I suspect it won't be as monumental a thing, at least immediately, as is being kind of indicated. But it's certainly something, and it is certainly an interesting something.
For me, it feels like websites just before the internet blew up. Like it's like right now, it's very Wild Westy. Like we haven't had a Wild West internet in a moment.
Yeah.
When it comes to AI, because the way our laws work, they take a while to catch up. You can kind of do whatever right now. And it's nuts the stuff that this thing can pull off, from like fixing your grammar to making a trade algorithm just by typing in a few words. So the chatter on these boards that I look at is like Google's actually behind the pace on this one, which I think is actually brought because like I believe Bing, you know that search engine everybody uses, Bing from Microsoft. They were able to implement a version of ChatGPT into it very fast. And people are finding that Bing is actually crushing it right now.
They are,
as far as like being a search service. And you rarely see like a giant in an industry be on a back foot, like kind of taken by surprise. A lot of these people are now they're throwing money at places like OpenAI because they see like where it's moving. But this is that paradigm shift that you always hear about, where like the disruptors, and I think it'll be interesting to see some of these like FANG stocks, how they're going to do, because the beauty of upstarts is they're scrappy and they move fast. Mm-hmm. When you get as big and bloated as like a Facebook, it's going to take a minute to turn a ship where it goes.
Yeah, no, I agree. And again, to your point about regulation and laws, and they're woefully behind. They haven't even caught up to crypto yet.
Nope.
So this thing's way off in the distance for them right now. They have to figure the crypto thing out first and how to regulate that. But it's fascinating. So a buddy of mine actually sent me, so he has access to one of them, and he said he wrote in and said something to the effect of, to Chat GDP, is it GDP? GPT. Tell me what Chat GPT is. And Chat GPT told him in very specific detail what it was, and it cobbles together sentences. It's basically a sentence algorithm, if you will. If you're writing a term paper, you can actually say, write me a term paper on Benjamin Franklin and make 3 grammatical errors so my teacher doesn't know that I used you to do this, right? So that's, first of all, that's cool if you're a student like me. Mm-hmm. But the rest of it, I don't like I could see for customer service, my phone, like if you're calling in about your phone and you type in, hey, my phone's doing this thing, and then it takes that data, cobbles together historical information on how to I could see that from a customer service standpoint. So I asked a guy who's actually a VP of IT at a very large local company, who I happened to be sitting with yesterday when all this was kind of breaking, and he told me that yes, it will be disruptive, and it will probably eventually lead to dislocation for some people, but he believes on the other side of that conversation, some of that dislocation will find itself in the creation space of this very technology. So it's like anything. There's a disruptive technology. People lose jobs, which is the unfortunate side effect, especially in this day and age. It happens quickly. But what also comes from that is a new opportunity for employment and growth and education pop up in its place. And it is disruptive, hence the term, for a minute. But he believes that what will come on the other side will be just the equal or better in terms of opportunity for income and employment and things like that.
Now it'll affect a lot of jobs. I think like the people that thought they were safe, like artists, where now they have to deal with a thing like Midjourney or Stable Diffusion, which are these text-to-image generators that, like, man, you do feel like you're an artist when you make this stuff, and you easily create like whatever stock footage. You can type in, make me a website, and look like, and it just does it. So there will be a huge displacement of jobs in the future. Do you ever think we'll get to the point where like we'll have to have like a universal basic income just because so much could be automated, including things we never thought about?
Oh, you want to get me in a lot of trouble.
Is this I don't know. Is this a hot topic in the financial world?
Because you know how people are. If you dip a toe in that pool, they're going to push you into the deep end, right? Even if you say, well, so I think there's a case to be made, like Andrew Yang was making when he was running for office, and Musk actually got behind it a little bit, is I don't know if universal basic income, which for those of you who don't know is basically like they do in Alaska, right? It already it's already working in Alaska. Mm-hmm. They give $1,000 or some oil proceeds to every citizen there because, everybody's there's poverty there, and it's kind of tough to spread the economy out in Alaska because it's so cold and so rural. But the point is that if every American had basic needs met by some, like the example is always like $1,000 a month. Every person, it doesn't matter who you are, rich, poor. Once you reach a certain age, you get $1,000 a month. And some people will say, well, that's socialism, and certainly you can make that argument, and I can't per se argue against that. The problem and the reason it keeps coming up is that dislocation from technology we can't keep up with. Andrew Yang used and I don't know that this is right, so don't write me any mean emails, but the example that he gave was with truckers, right? So we know that it's coming. There are like 650,000 truckers in this country. Now, when gas prices go up, truckers get really mad. If you've seen a mad trucker, it's not a good thing, right?
Oh, yeah, they can lock down a city.
They can lock down a city. So think about how mad they might be if they all lose their jobs one day to cyber trucks and automatic drivers and all of these automated situations they're talking about for transporting goods across the country. And that is coming. Tomorrow, I don't know, but it is coming where we're going to automate a lot of that stuff, and we might not need truck drivers. So what do we do in this particular example with 650,000 truck drivers who may be 3 years, 7 years, 10 years, I don't know, from being out of work, right? Because that's what they do. They drive trucks, which is a tough, hard job and requires – I mean, I watch these guys drive these trucks throughout the city, and I think there's no way he's fitting in there with that. And by golly, he does.
Yeah.
He gets it around the corner. He gets it into that's a really specialized, hard job that we could do away with in an instant. So what do we do to keep those people from being upset or not being able to eat or not being able to provide for their families? And the idea is that if we created some kind of universal basic income for the purpose of getting people through either to just a reasonable standard of living, quote unquote, whatever that means, I don't know, or to get them through a moment where maybe they're dislocated. And a lot of people will say, well, we could retrain them. But we know that we're not really good at retraining people in this country. Nope. The example is always West Virginia coal miners, right? We should teach them to do something else. Well, I mean, we've tried that, and it doesn't work really, really well. It's a difficult task to accomplish. I don't know the answers to any of these things, but I do know universal basic income is largely talked about with regard to disruption from technology, which seems to be coming faster and faster.
Yeah, AI was just doing nothing for years, just hanging out. And you heard about, a couple things. You're like, I like algorithm. And then all of a sudden, man, it's like, the future is here and like much faster than I thought. I thought we wouldn't get here for like at least 4 more years, 5 maybe.
Yeah, but I mean, look at what we've been convinced to do at Publix or Target or McDonald's, right?
I don't get a discount for checking out my own groceries.
We have literally been convinced to get our groceries off the shelf and check ourselves out. Well, they're going to eventually convince us to unload the trucks. Come unload the trucks. Which truck would you like to unload? Would you like produce? Would you like frozen foods? I mean,
that'll be the grocery store. Just a bunch of trucks backed up in a parking lot.
Yeah, we just roll our carts by or something. I don't know.
The future is crazy, and you getting your ducks in a row is important. And if you want to get that money ducks in a row, that's what I call my money ducks. Go to edgewaterfamilywealth.com, and we'll be right back with more It's Only Money here on the radio. Welcome back to It's Only Money, and we are in the final segment. Oh, this is the last bit of time you get to spend with me and Scott Brown from Edgewater Family Wealth. EdgewaterFamilyWealth.com, that's the website. That's where you get links to past shows. Financial Talks with Tammy is there. Tammy, shout out to Tammy. He's getting his citizenship today. And all the great stuff, including the contact information for EdgewaterFamilyWealth.com. Scott?
Yeah.
I have look. I'm the guy that if you tell me about your dreams, I don't want to hear them. But I had a dream last night that shook me because
wait, you were in your underwear on the school bus?
Not quite. Okay. Financial dream actually, which as I get older, I have those more and more often.
That is weird.
Yeah. How do you know when you're at a midlife crisis? Question 1 and question 2. is so my marriage is actually getting closer and closer day by day, creeping up on me, and it's odd for me because because of the pandemic, I've had this really long engagement time, so it's almost like I forget about it sometimes. But my questions are really this, because now I'm not only are we're linking our love, but we're in a very real sense, linking ourselves financially. And I don't think enough people think about that when they get started in a relationship, or maybe get to the point where they get to marriage, because I'm very much a guy who's like, well, I will think about what could happen if something goes wrong. And people will be like, why would you think about that? And I'd say, because of the family that I grew up with and around, the divorce tax or the divorce, the financial hit that you take in a divorce seems to be very, very long lasting.
Yeah, I have lots of friends who will happily tell you about it when they get a beer or two in them. So, well, let's even back up the truck a little bit. The reality is when you decide to get married, your significant other should share your at least similar or close to your beliefs, your sensibilities when it comes to money. If you're a person who's a saver and you for whatever reason, like you came from an impoverished background, whatever drives you, and you're frivolous spending, buying a new car every couple of years, running up credit card bills are just excruciating for you, as to some degree they should be. And then you decide to marry a spendthrift, somebody who's wants a new car every year, wants to live in the fanciest house, wants to go out to the most expensive restaurants, and has no real regard for debt. That is not going to end well. It's 100% do not pass go. Now, you may love them otherwise. You may think they're great people. You may find them attractive. You may all the things that go along with relationships. But that one is a deal killer, and it's arguably the number one reason why people get divorced. So, again, if you're going into a situation where there's not at least some agreement about how finances should be run, you are probably headed towards a problem.
Yeah, a lot of people don't discuss money at all with their partner. I've learned that talking to people because I'm very much of the mindset, like I want a separate bank account for both of us, because, well, A, she does significantly better than I do. That's just a fact. And I want my money to be my money because I've always been in control of my money. I know where it's at. I know what the red line level is when I'm in trouble. If I suddenly have access to somebody else's money, that could be I could see that going a little bit negatively. And I've also seen it go bad in like a divorce where somebody is like, it's our bank account right here. I'll take the money and I'll bye-bye.
What's mine is mine and what's yours is mine.
Yeah. When you sit down with a client, are you able to tell, if one's better than the other
yeah,
with the money?
You'd be surprised. I mean, people sometimes have almost arguments, if not real arguments, right in front of me, and because you can see it's a source of contention. It doesn't happen a lot because, let's face it, the people that come into my office generally have it their you-know-what together. But sometimes there is a disagreement and somebody's saying they want to do something and the other one's making a funny face on the other side of the couch. And that's something that needs to be worked out. Back to your original point about having divided money, I see that more now than I used to, and I don't know if that's a byproduct of your generation where they've kind of said, my money will be over here, and then we'll agree, we'll throw money into the grocery pot, the electric pot, the utilities pot, whatever it is. I do see that more, and I don't know that it's right or wrong. I really don't know that it's wrong.
I was surprised when I talked to older people that they're like, why would you not put your money together? But my friends generally are like, yeah, of course we have separate accounts.
Yeah, and so
I don't know why.
I think you're just, they've watched parents divorce and the arguments that ensued and the problems that ensued. And in fact, if you look at older people who are remarried, maybe the spouse has passed away and they've remarried, second marriage for whatever reason, almost exclusively they will have separate money. And so what that tells you is they went through the other thing and they went, maybe we can improve upon this and there'll be less arguments if I have my money and he or she has her money. I don't know that that's for certain true, but that seems to be what's happening.
So are there real, tangible financial benefits to marriage? I always hear, just kind of vaguely somebody be like, tax break. But, I mean, is that I've never seen it laid out anyway.
Yeah, I mean, there are some tax implications. I don't know that they're substantial enough that that's why you want to get married. Hey, you want to get married and save some taxes?
Yeah.
But I just met you.
Taxes are sexy.
Yeah. So I don't know that there's a huge advantage there, although there may be some. But what getting married does, obviously, to the right person, somebody you're compatible with, is, two heads are always better than one. And I think that maybe one of you is a little more impulsive than the other. I believe it or not, in my household, my wife is very thrifty. She is not a spendthrift. In fact, she has to rein me in sometimes. And, we've lived in our this is an old story, but we've lived in our same house in College Park for 32 years. And it's not a big house. I mean, my house is 1,800 square feet after I added on to it over the years, and I raised 2 children there. And every once in a while I'd come home and I'd say, maybe we need a bigger house. We're kind of on top of each other. Our kids are teenagers. They're giants and they're in the way. And she's like, no, this is our home. This is where we're comfortable. We don't need to stretch and do something dumb and buy a 5,000 square foot house. She would talk me out of it. And that's where the marriage was good, is that, I'm a decent income earner, and she did stay home to raise the kids despite her PhD in psychology, which I think she largely got to deal with me. But she, we worked together on that, and maybe in a moment where I was thinking we should do something, and she said, are you sure that's what we want to do? And basically that was her way of saying, no, you're not doing that. Or conversely, I'm a risk taker. I'm the one that's the entrepreneur. I'm the one that's into investing. She probably would not have a lot of investments. She would be like a bank person or something like that if I weren't around. And that has paid off for us. So in both cases, we kind of complement each other. And I think that's what you want to look for. But again, if one person's wildly to the left and one person's wildly to the right on these issues, that's probably a recipe for disaster.
That's how, I don't know how you can control your impulsivity, because I'm very impulsive when it comes to shopping and things like that. I also do this thing called the White Claw shopping, where I have a bunch of White Claws and then I go on Amazon and then I just start buying stuff. But I find if I have somebody else to run it by, she'll say what I'm thinking out loud, or like say what I just said out loud back to me, and it'll sound stupid.
Yes.
And then I'm like, oh, yeah, okay.
As long as you're both not hitting the White Claws at the same time.
No, yeah, we got it. Definitely separate times. But I would, do you think, like, are there single people out there that are, like, better at money than, or does it work one way or the other?
No, I think you find, I don't know that married people have a juggernaut on good common sense when it comes to money. I think oftentimes you find single people that are, it's just them. And if they're, again, it's not a fair population, because if they've walked into my office, they've been successful probably. It's rare that somebody comes in and is just totally down on their luck and looking for a solution, which maybe they should, but they don't. So no, single people, frankly, I don't think there's any, predisposition one way or the other. Some single people are great at money. Some single people suck at money. And the same is true of married people. So, but to the primary point is that if you're going to marry somebody, or if you're going to have a long-term relationship with somebody, ultimately money is going to be a factor for good or for bad.
Well, if you want to have a long-term relationship with a financial advisor, I've got the Jeep driving, motorcycle riding, guy for you. And that's Scott Brown with Edgewater Family Wealth. EdgewaterFamilyWealth.com. That is the website that you want to go to. And you can also check out Scott's book. He's got an amazing book. It's called I've Never Made Anyone Rich. It's on Amazon. And if you got a Kindle subscription, guess what? It's free. I don't know how Scott makes money, but he does. And then do that, plus all the financial talks, links to past episodes. And we're here on the weekends on your radio to hang out with you and get you a little more knowledgeable on your financial situation. Scott, you want to tell them anything before we get out of here?
No, just enjoy your Sunday.
All right, we'll see you next time with more It's Only Money here on your radio.
Yeah, and clearly people are rich, right? Or wealthy. You don't have to be rich. I like the term wealthy better. I mean, to rich reminds me of like the Monopoly guy or something. But, they're people, they're regular people.
Now that guy I trust. You don't see the problem, Scott? You don't have a monocle.
Monocle is, now, if you can meet a guy with a monocle, I'm all in.
What was his financial advice? He said buy Park Place?
Where is that?
Where is that? I can't find it.
Tune in to It's Only Money with Scott Brown from Edgewater Family Wealth, Sunday mornings at 7 on Real Radio 104.1. Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Edgewater Family Wealth is not a broker-dealer, is independent of RJFS.